we saw in the video. I've watched it now a couple of times, and we see a predominantly white environment. And what I kept thinking about, and wanted to ask you, but I hope we can talk about it as a part of the audience, are there concerns that we have to have for children that are specifically African American and Latino, and the voices of their families and parents to support them? And I'll separate that question. Are there specific concerns that we have to have about what's happening with African Americans and Latinos? You want to take a shot at that, Linda?
Sure. I think the most dangerous thing that we see in many of these schools that are proliferating is this notion of education and the approach to working with poor children and children of color is that they take a race-neutral kind of approach. And race neutrality is just code for assimilation, is what we're really talking about. So for example, Carol had mentioned Charter Schools USA. John and Sherry Hage, who are the co-owners of Charter Schools USA, are the godparents to the Bush twins belonging to George W. Bush. Okay, so I want you to understand the interconnectedness there. So this is a charter school management organization that was awarded 4 schools here in Indianapolis. If you look at their data, Mark Twain said it best, there's liars, damn liars, and statisticians. If you look at their data, what it very clearly shows, the schools that they took over from IPS, if you look at the African American kids, and particularly black males, the longer black boys are enrolled in their schools, the lower they perform. They are destroying our children. And for that, they were awarded even more schools. And so this is part of the alarming issues here, is that we just kind of blindly just accept these things that are happening. Oh, well, they've already been here, they did these takeover schools, well, let's just give them more schools. But when you really begin to dig into the data, what you really see is that there was an alarming destruction of our children, and it's just open season on the kids, and then they're given permission, and actually they're being rewarded for doing it.
No, let me add, someone sent me some data. They said that the trend, the I-STEP % passing trend, has been increasing.
Sure.
Oh,
right. Because what you
share that data with you.
and that's the best. Oh, go ahead, Carol. Go ahead.
This is so interesting because if we are not aware, we certainly are victims. But the plan is to take advantage of black populations, first of all. We have to realize that is a part of the plan. And so we are caught unaware, and when you think something sounds too good to be true, then you have to watch out because it is not. When you speak of the data, and I'm so glad Brandon indicated what's happening. I was at a meeting last night. I see someone here that was also at that meeting. I don't know who else was at the meeting with me with those groups. I hope you noticed what I noticed. They had the data, right? When they had the data indicated that students their test scores had increased. As black people, as all people, be careful of that because, yes, it has increased. White students has increased more. And in one of the charts, they had a chart. On one page, they had the black students, Dr. Murtado. On the other page, they had all students. The question you would ask, why didn't you put them on the same page and where are your white students? Right. When I looked at the one page with black students, you saw these high bars. We learned, those of us who know how to read data reports, look at what it says at the top of the bar. Had it in small print, it said 60% passing. You turn the page where the all students, the top bar was 90%. So that was intentional. Don't put the two graphs on the same page. Don't have the top bar the same. So that the perception of people who don't get it is, oh look. In fact, the person said, she said, so look how this test scores have improved. That's part of the mantra.
And we have to make sure that as we look at this film, we have to think about what does the data tell us. If you were to really talk about the data, what metrics would you use to say we are measuring success? I'd like for each of you to respond to that. If you were really to talk about the data. What metrics would you use to define success? That's a critical issue.
My husband's a research scientist, so we have lots of conversations about value or not value of data in our house. I wouldn't look at standardized testing. I mean, bottom line, I wouldn't look at standardized testing. It plays a role, it plays a function, but it sure isn't what I would look at first. I would look at how many children are staying in school. I would look at how many children are having to seek out psychological services, number one. And number two, if they do actually need them, are they getting them? I would look at how much kids are getting outside to play and what kind of physical shape they're in. And then I would ask some educators who I value highly, of whom I see many in this room, to interview random samples of children one-on-one and ask them what they think. That's what I like to see.
Carol?
I would use equity, equitable standards based on access and opportunity. Whenever I look at a lot of this data coming from some of these so-called reformers, that is definitely missing. When you compare who has access to the best opportunities, that is a huge missing piece, so I would definitely have that. One of the things that we know from a report that you shared, Dr. Murtada, a couple of years ago, can't remember the title of the report, but it showed when you take African American students of the same socioeconomic status, the same education opportunities in terms of courses they took, let's say, and you look at what colleges they attended, don't remember the name of that report, you see some serious inequities. So when we talk about even our students, black students, going to college, and someone may say, oh, they're going to college at the highest rates. But here's the kicker. Are they completing? But then there's another piece. Did they even enter the best quality institutions? Those are things you can only measure if you care about equity.
Brandon, wrap it up for us.
It's a number of things, and I always point out to people, I was fired in this community as an educator because I refused to use bad data to hurt kids and teachers. Okay, so I want to be very clear about this. So when we talk about what would we view attendance, are the kids coming? Are they coming regularly? Levels of violence in school. Kids don't hurt each other in places where they are valued, safe, and respected. Okay? Dr. Sharon Wilkins, my late mentor, she would always say that children will behave in outrageous ways to call attention to outrageous things they've been forced to deal with. I never forgot it. And so we have to look at that. Parent participation. And I don't mean how many parents showed up for a Title I meeting or how many parents you got to sell popcorn. I'm talking about parents being engaged in the academic operations of your school. And what does that look like? The number of extracurricular offerings that you have available to kids that are not athletically inclined. I'm tired of our black children being told the only thing they can do is be successful with the ball. But if you look at, do they have debate programs? Do they have theater? How big is their orchestra? Do they have an orchestra and not just a marching band or a drum line? Those kinds of things are the indicators that will tell you that if an urban school is actually thriving and functioning and doing well. And I'm one of the people that will tell you, I don't have a problem with tests. I don't have a problem with tests. But I do have a problem when we tell kids that the test is the thing. If you do all of those other things well, success on those tests becomes a natural byproduct of a healthy environment where children thrive.